Today's journey is about cooking some meatballs on the grill. You know, we've all had those nice, delicious meatballs that you cook in the oven. They're nice and saucy, and maybe even put them in the crock pot and let them just get nice and tender and juicy. But today I just wanted to see, I saw some meatballs on sale in the grocery store and said, hey, let me see if I can cook those things on the grill. One of the great things about learning how to cook outdoors is I'm not really planning on cooking on anything when I go to the grocery store. I just go and see what's on sale, see what's speaking to me. And so today, I've got to crack out the old M16, get it cleaned up, get ready to go. One of the things they don't tell you about the M16, or at least I didn't read about before I got this a few years ago, was it's a pretty manual process to clean this thing up. After every cook, you've got to go in there and get all the old charcoal dust out of there if you didn't, close the vents right after your cook. Get that stuff out, and now you've got the ash to clean up after that. Not a big deal. Just pick up all the trays, get those things in there. It doesn't take a long time, and it gives me something to do while I'm waiting for those coals to get nice and warm. Just crack out my baby shovel and, scoop away. It takes a little time, and normally I actually put down a piece of foil here to help clean up the process, make it go a little bit faster, don't have as much dust sitting there. And one of these days I'm going to get one of those ash vacuum cleaners where I can just get in there and suck that stuff up like the guys with the pellet grills have. But for now, I'm just going to shovel this thing out and get it ready for the next cook. So the plan for the cook today is actually quite simple. I'm just going to, put in a bunch of coals, and I've actually got some bratwurst that I bought at the grocery store at the same time. And I'm going to cook those bratwurst first, get those over the fire. Those don't take really a long time to cook, maybe 10 minutes or so, if that. So I'll cook those over the coals first, get those things going. At the same time, I'll just go ahead and get the meatballs on the other side of the grill, on the cold side of the grill, so that, we'll go ahead and let those things get nice and warmed up a little bit. Not really trying to do a smoke and cook or anything like that, but just really trying to get them acclimated to the heat a little bit. Maybe if there's a little bit of smoke in there. I did find a couple pieces of wood in my container here. One of them's pecan. I don't know what the other one is, so I just put down a little bit of wood and not a lot of coals, maybe about 10-15 coals that are going in there warm today. We're gonna go ahead and cook the bratwurst first, and then once those bratwursts are done, we're going to put the meatballs on. I got to get this grill surface clean, and one of the things I've like to do every now and then is go ahead and get an onion, just a slice of onion, and go ahead and move that across the grill grates. And that really helps to get gets a little bit of that rust and gunk down, but also gives it a little bit of flavoring, and also oils it up a little bit. I think when you get the grill grates, one of the things that they tell you to do is get an onion and kind of put that across the top of it when the grates are hot, and that way you get a little bit of a protective coating on there. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop these bratwursts on. I mean, there's nothing special to it. I mean, if you want to see me cook bratwurst one day, drop a note in the comments and I can heat those up. But, today it's just a really simple cook. Get the bratwurst on, get the meatballs on, and we'll just let those things ride. Now, once the bratwursts are done, like I said, I'm just going to move those things over one by one and allow for them to get nice and happy on the hot side. One of the tricks here, and I guess the hard thing I'm trying to figure out, is how do I allow for these nice meatballs to maintain a meatball shape throughout the cooking process. I mean, since we're cooking on the grill, I think there's a natural inclination for these meatballs to actually flatten out as they're cooking. So I'm trying to rotate them a little bit more often than I think you'd want to. So I'm just kind of rotating, and I can still even see that they're flattening out a bit, but just kind of stay on top of it and keep on moving. Allow for these things to keep on getting heat on all sides and not allowing for one side to get dominated, so I end up with a bunch of baby sliders. So I'm going to do this process for, the next 10 minutes or so, but keeping in mind of what the temperature of the meatballs are. I'm going to keep on rotating, flipping, and I'm trying to get to 165. If I can get down to 165, then things are going to be all right. The key is, making sure that you got your temperature right so that you're not making anybody sick, but also not letting them get too hot so that when you eat them, they're not all dried out and everything, because that really is one of the cardinal sins of grilling and putting something up on a grill where you've got some food that, looks really nice on the outside, but once you get on the inside, it doesn't taste right.
Well, before I take a bite out of crime, one of the things I was really concerned about while cooking these meatballs on the grill over here is that they would just turn into little mini hamburgers. I was trying to turn them around and move them a little bit so that they kind of retain some of the round shape, because as the things cook, they kind of flatten out a little bit. So you're trying to keep the shape the same. I did an okay job, but I guess that's one of the areas where you just have to get better and better at this. So here I'm going to give this a little taste test. We'll see how it turned out. What's really great about this is you can tell that it was cooked on a grill, but you can also tell the nice flavors that were inside of this meatball that were put in, that basil and whatever was on the label. You can taste a lot of that coming through, even alongside of the grill. I didn't know if that was going to come out really nice, but it actually turns out great. And this marinara sauce I put on here as well really helps the thing come together. Well, if you bring this to the cookout, you might get invited back, and you might actually get invited to make the meatballs. So you might want to give this a try. Have a good one. Big time. You want to go to the cookout? Here you go, Ruth. Well, you made it to the end. You might make it to the end of another one of my videos. Why don't you check one of those out below? Take it easy.